So we are waiting for some viewers to join in. So before we start on the Marlin, you can have a look at my very first RC, which is a Toyota. It has a bobbed bed and it is cob cut. So, and real four-wheel drive. So this thing is from early 80s and it was already very impressive, and you can really see how I came up to be a scale guy, because this was my first RC. It has a first gen grille and steering, toy grade steering, obviously. But the real cool feature is that it already had a bob bed and stuff like that from Nico. Really cool. Hi, Manfred. So next, the Nico will go. Maybe it will drive one more day, but sadly, I lost the remote. So it will be a challenge to make it drive again. But we will see how things develop on this. Back to the shelf, I guess. So now we get to the Marlin. When the Marlin came out and pictures came, you hear many people saying, yeah, another Trailfinder with a Toyota body. How exciting can that be? True, true. But then when you look closer, you will see it's a completely new car. It's almost a new platform. So I rather call it Trailfinder 2.5 than Trailfinder 2, because it is really an evolution, and it's like the Tamiya Pro spec cars we had in the 90s, you know, a TA4 Pro or a TA3 Pro, and think of the Marlin as a Pro Trailfinder kit. Pro in terms of drives really nice. So the first thing we will look at today is the body. One tip from myself, make sure you glue the lenses to the grill, to the new grill. It's a completely new grill with round headlights, but if you don't glue the lenses and take it out on the trail, you lose them. Obviously, that's what happened to me. You can, on the other hand, also be careful when you remove the rub, when you put it out of the box, because also if you remove the rub, it might happen that the lenses come off, and then you have to search them, which is not so nice. So my body is stock, despite I lost the lenses, and I put in the RC4WD drive bench seat and some black rubber to make it dark, and the light kit for the Moriave body, which is a simple light kit, just wires and something to plug it into the receiver. Very simple, but there is light. When we look at the body more closer, you can see it is comp cut here. The wheel arches are shaped differently than the typical Moriave. In the back, the same. We have the wheel arches that are bigger and also allow for the bigger tires, and we also have a comp cut here and a little tiny comp cut in this area of the bed. The bed, I put on some accessories. Marlin always has his high lift here, so I kind of did the same, and other than that, the bed is unchanged, and I really like it. It also creates the impression of being lighter than the stock Moriave body. I don't know if it's because it has less plastic or it's a little bit thinner, but anyway, it feels lighter. A question that is asked very often as well is if the roll bar is metal. No, it's plastic. I like it to be plastic because I don't want all that weight up heavy. But other than that, the body comes not painted like other RC4WD drive RTRs, but it's molded in red like the previous Trailfinder 2 RTR. And inside it's black, painted out of the factory. So it really looks nice, maybe a bit shiny, but generally nice. Okay, so nice is maybe not the right word. I was really excited when I saw it the first time because it's a really good reproduction of the one-to-one Marlin Crawler. Now comes the more interesting part. We look at the chassis. And the chassis is a new chassis. I will tell you later how you can see that. But I think we start from the back and work ourselves up to the front on the changes. In the rear, if you see this cross member, you can see it's relocated. In a typical Trailfinder 2, it's behind the suspension mount. And because I try to be a television cook today, I bring a raw Tf2 chassis, and you can see the cross member is mounted behind the suspension mount. And when I use my calipers, I can also see that it's a bit shorter in the back, the Marlin, than the original one. The next thing that is interesting, this one has the stock Tf2 Skid from which is made from metal. The Marlin has the newer kind, Delrin-based skid that gives you a little bit more body clearance, ground belly clearance, and it slides nicely over rocks, and you have a little bit less. The TK rides a little bit higher. Next, we look at the axles. This truck, all the previous Trailfinders had Yota axles. This one has Co2 axles, like you typically find them on the Gelände. And now we will take a little bit of a tool. And I take a wheel off. The nut doesn't want to come off, but we will manage. And you can see it's a nice new wheel, which is also kind of special because it is the design of a beadlock style wheel, but in the rear you got all the space like the RC4WD drive steel is. So basically you got the best of both worlds, the simplicity and all the space should you want to place weights from a steely, and you get a classic bedlock look, and you only need to take out those screws if you want to take the tire off. The next thing that is really a very nice touch, and why you can say it's a pro spec, the hexes have a set screw, something I have never seen on an RC4WD drive Yota-based car so far. So really cool, and that's what people like, because we like to run hexes so we can take the wheels off safely and fast on the trail. And if we have the set screw, everything stays in place, and there is a lot less of a chance to lose parts on the trail. So I really like this change. If we walk our way to the front, you can see I have something modified here. This is about the only modification I came up with this truck so far. Typically it has posts to hold the battery better mounted here, and I simply took off the clips in the rear and moved those posts here and use hex head screws and plastic washers to mount my bed on the body, and it looks much cleaner than with the clips. This is one little modification I did. What you can also see is that it comes stock with a 3-channel radio, so it was easy for me to mount the RC4WD drive winch controller, and if you attach it to channel 3 and not channel 4, which happened to me obviously, it really works great, and you don't need any extra kit. Just the winch controller and a worn winch, and you're set to go, but you don't need to change your controller on this RTR. So really nice. Obviously, the Tamiya is not the best friend of dirt, but it gets you running. Also, there is a battery included, nickel metal hydride battery, so you can drive it. And a special thing for John, it comes with a charger. At first glance, this charger looks a little bit disappointing because it only has American plugs. But when you read the specs, you see you can run it on 230 volts. And if you bring one of those, or maybe a smaller one, you can perfectly charge with this charger around the world. But you need some patience, obviously. The next thing interesting is this speed controller, which is said to be waterproof. I have not tested it so far, and it has jumpers. And please bear in mind, when it comes from the factory, it's set up to use LiPos. So should you want to use the stock batteries that come with the truck, you have to reset the jumper to get more runtime out of your NIMI H batteries. I can't spell that correctly, but sorry. The next thing we can see here is it comes with a single-speed transmission, something that many drivers always did on their RC4-wheel drive Trailfinders, because it's lighter, less complexity, and generally with modern power systems, for most people, one speed is enough. Hi, Ashley. Yeah, so this is on the top. You can see there is a servo, everything kind of nicely installed. When we go again to the rear side, we can see it has the new drive shafts. Trevor Rushford is a real hero for me, because on his 64-hour run, he managed to survive with one of the old Trailfinder drive shafts. With my driving style, typically that never lasted as long as 64 hours. And now they have new redesigned drive shafts that hold up a lot better, because they're generally beefier, and also a hidden feature of the new truck. When we look to the front, you can see something that is really unique on RTRs, as far as I know. It has an aluminum servo horn. So no real need to change anything in the steering department on day one. And also nice for an RTR, it has a steel bumper and an aluminum bumper mount. So also two parts you would typically buy, and this RTR comes out of the factory with a metal front bumper and an aluminum bumper holder to really give you a solid bumper. And the Warn Mini is a perfect fit to this bumper and to the Toyota body all together. Okay, the rear bumper and the sliders are plastic, but there's parts from RC4-wheel drive where you can get them in a metal option. Typically, I don't mind to have plastic in these places, because I want all my weight up front, and the plastic is lighter, so it doesn't harm performance. When we go back to the wheels, it's very cool that they have a proper stiff foam in them, so you can drive it, and the performance is rather good. I had it on the trails together with Lucas and Chris, and we all felt that the performance of the foams is pretty good. Maybe we could even use a little bit softer foams, which is something new for RC4-wheel drive. The front axle looks like a stock Co2, but there is something also very exciting. They come standard with CVDs installed. So there's really no need to modify anything, and you can save your CVD money, and you get a really nice steering angle right out of the box. On the trail, I was really surprised about what it can do in terms of steering right out of the box. And my other car is or now my girl's car, is a Jeep, which is shorter and has K44 front axles. And so I'm really spoiled in terms of steering. But this one really surprised me how well it can steer, and how good generally it behaves on the trail without any modifications done to it. So from my point of view, it's really a winner. Steel bumper, aluminum bumper mount, aluminum servo, CVDs, Co2 axles, upgraded drive shafts, the new style skid plate. Oh, what else did I mention before? Yeah, so from my side, it's a real winner. And I did this video today basically because there was so much stuff going on that it's yet another Trailfinder, but I hope I could show you that it's a real evolution. I forgot one thing, and this is shock hoops. It was a common mod on Trailfinders to move to Gelände shock hoops, and RC4-wheel drive listened to what the drivers did, and it comes out of the box with the higher shock hoops to give you more articulation. I have to say that especially the frame thing was discovered by my friend Terry Cheatham. Other stuff I found out myself. And maybe a word on setup, because I think Ashley will need to know how to set up the truck. What people I know did to the truck to make it even better on the trail is they removed the internal springs from the shocks. There's little springs in there. And they take off the smallest helper of the spring pack. This is maybe also interesting that the leaf spring pack that comes on these trucks is also a softer version than the one that is on the other Trailfinder 2s, because generally people believe those trucks will be run more lightweight than other trucks. So the leaf springs are softer and really work good and got me lots of traction on the trail time I had so far with it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, this is basically what I wanted to show you today. The Marlin truck and all the little details that make it a Trailfinder 2.5 for me and not really a Trailfinder 2. Hi, Story. So if there is not more questions, I thank you for watching and have a nice morning, evening, wherever you are.